Welcome back, Halo followers. Today, I want to level with y'all, talk about the state of Halo Infinite about 2 months after launch, and just talk about where we are in the grand scheme of things and what's happened up to this point. Firstly, I want to say that the Halo community has mostly calmed down about the negativity. I mean, the negativity overall just kind of plateaued a little bit. You know, Reddit's still there, and customization is still being ripped on every day. I mean, it's got a little bit more positive overall. People are starting to celebrate a little bit, but I gotta be brutally honest with y'all because it's something that I've always valued doing on the channel. It's something that has made me unpopular many, many times, and probably will once again. But I'm gonna just say it. I am bored shitless of Halo Infinite. Is the gameplay good? Sure. Sometimes I get in the mood to play it. Sure. But it's just a sad fact that most other games, honestly, over the years, have just done better on capturing my personal interest long term. Now, I'm a big Halo fan. I do a lot of stuff like Halo animations. I think about Halo. I'm literally my whole room looks like just a big Halo nerd room, right? However, I just gotta say that I wish Halo could just be a game that encapsulated more people, that just did more. But with that being said, this huge milestone, this huge thing happened, and it's that Halo announced that over 20 million Spartans have joined Halo Infinite so far, that this is the biggest launch in Halo franchise history. Now, I really would have liked a little bit more specification about this. Does that include, has 20 million people bought the campaign? Does that include people that just downloaded the free-to-play multiplayer and then dropped it immediately? Because actually, we're going to talk about that here soon, but there is not many people playing Halo Infinite compared to the first week or two with Halo Infinite. In fact, we've seen a 85-90% decline since launch, which is usually a normal thing, but is it sustainable considering all the bad things that we've seen with the game? Is that part of the reason why Halo Infinite is falling apart right now as far as the player base, and will it return with Season 2? Well, anyway, I wish they specified if this is a combined number between multiplayer free-to-play downloads and campaign purchases. I would have really liked to see how many people bought the campaign itself. Anyways, this was actually kind of a silly moment for me. I actually thought that campaign split screen was working, and I just assumed that when they said co-op, that meant online co-op. Now, I never tried split screen because I wanted to play co-op with some friends, over Wi-Fi, because friends I would want to play with do not live close to me. So when I actually did try split screen with a friend near me, I was surprised, and I was like, oh, this actually doesn't have split screen working, and that is just such a major buzzkill, on top of it not having online co-op. We also know that the game has no mission select, and I believe that the reason why this was delayed a whole 3 months on top of the 3-month delay from the launch day is because it's broken. I think that they are facing some serious issues with this engine based on how it was developed, because of how it was developed by contractors. That's just my working theory, but essentially this game has no co-op, no mission select, also no Forge. That was also delayed even further 9 months after launch, and I think that's really hurting the game's longevity in the community. It doesn't help that also custom games is nearly broken and doesn't really work the way you would like for it to. Broken theater mode. And then finally, one of these big issues are being addressed. We have individual items now being sold on the shop, and also we have reduced prices. Now, these prices are really refreshing to look at. They are bringing them down every Tuesday. This is great, but ultimately, I think that this maybe turned people off the game. Now, it's better late than never to reduce these prices, and they are much more reasonable at this point. Are they still a little bit high? Sure. But I think really the problem with the shop for me from the get-go was the lack of content, the lack of stuff that this game was offering, considering that a lot of these systems were broken, that they continue to sell microtransactions at a very high price, $20 for a mere effect and a couple armor coatings or a couple emblems. It was just, it's been absurd, right? We also have rampant cheating. We have a lot of cheaters looking through walls. That's even happening in events, supposedly. We have desync issues, shooting desync, melee blanks, shooting blanks, and the game has actually been one of the few games ever to hard crash my very expensive PC. And it doesn't even go to blue screen. It actually crashes the entire computer. It's done this twice now. And BTB, it's still hard to get into a match. I mean, the gameplay itself is fine, despite, the obvious issues that we run into gameplay, often, or maybe not so often for some players. But ultimately, it's just not running the way that a AAA game should be running. It's running like something's broken. It's very obvious to me that this game, from the get-go, had some issues that 343 must have known about, right? They must have known that this game was going to launch with some serious issues. They must have anticipated it at some level. Maybe they didn't expect the backlash with the microtransactions, but ultimately, I would say that is probably one of the smaller issues that really don't need to be addressed in the moment. Even though I've been begging for them to address it, I think the main issue is just to get the damn game working, right? They added playlists, which was like a to be expected feature, and so on, and I love the combat loop, but again, one thing I've mentioned so far is that combat loop that includes the actual gameplay, and the actual gameplay has some bugs right now, all right? I will talk more about Season 2 actually here in a moment, but the fact that we have no roadmap, no Season 2 news, makes me really suspect that 343 doesn't know what they can promise because they don't know what they can do, which I will talk more about this, but if you were to take an approach like myself, which is to have very, very low expectations based on what has happened so far here, because 343 refused to show us stuff during the content drought, and basically the stuff that they did show was the entirety of the game, so they didn't really have a whole lot to show. Makes me think that Season 2 has very little to offer when it does finally come, despite being delayed 3 additional months. Now let's talk about population. Population has been going down steadily, all right? It has just been going down and down, and we're seeing lower highs and lower lows every single day. It seems like every day about maybe 1,000 people, maybe about less than that, maybe about 500, 400 people, less people are playing every day on average. Now, there's some exceptions to this, there's some outliers, but ultimately, back in, early January, the Steam charts, now these are just for people playing on Steam, which I feel like honestly should be better than Xbox, right? I might be wrong to think that, but we do have the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X to consider. That's 2 other major platforms that a lot of people probably would prefer and probably are playing Halo on right now, but these charts kind of reflect the population with Halo Infinite, I think, across the board. If we looked at Xbox's charts, they would probably be higher numbers, but it will still probably reflect the same kind of chart of it, steadily going down. Is this game doing better than Halo Reach? I think from what I can recall from the numbers, yes. Is this game doing better than Halo 4 and 5? I don't know because they never shared that information with us. However, I do believe it is and will continue to do pretty well compared to the other Halo games, because simply the game is free to play. There's no cost. People can just jump in, jump out. And, most games are going to have like a large amount of people playing that first 2 weeks. But after that time, it's going to start dropping, all right? And then it's going to show its true colors as to how many people are actually playing this game. And it looks like on Steam, which is just 1/3 of the platforms, it's going down to 15,000 players. And that's in the middle of the night. And then its highs is going up to about 32,000, 25, 26,000, 27,000. Things like that, about 31,000 it seems to be the high that it reaches every day. So let's just times that by 3. We have about 80, 90,000 people playing a day because we got the other Xbox platforms. I'm assuming that's what we're looking at right here, right? In the past month, ultimately, I think that, we're starting to see these numbers drop, and I am concerned about the game because ultimately what we all need, what we all expect, I think, is a roadmap, because without a roadmap, we don't know what to expect. There's no direction in this game. And in fact, it's kind of insane to me that a roadmap isn't isn't out yet. I mean, the game has been out for 2 months now. I really feel like they could have done better on this launch, ultimately, in hindsight, or even foresight. I feel like if you showed anyone this kind of information, it would be like, okay, this is exactly what is going to happen. If you don't give a reason why to people to be excited about this game, then they're just going to drop off. They're just going to come back later, if at all. Now, thankfully, Halo Infinite's got something really good going for it, which is the fact that it's free to play. And free to play means that anyone can just jump back on whenever they want. They don't need to worry about buying the new DLC. They can enjoy the new maps, the new game modes for free, at least in theory, right? I believe that's what's going to happen here. Ultimately, I appreciate 343 addressing the store. Of course, there is still reason to complain about it. You could probably look at this and kind of be suspicious about how things are priced and stuff. Yeah, obviously, they want you to buy stuff. That's how the game's going to make money. I do want to say that for another video talking about the store, but I will say this. We have Big Team Battle, which is the main attractor, in my opinion, for Halo Infinite. It's got a bigger population. It kind of takes advantage of the sandbox. We still don't have vehicles showing up. I've seen the Scorpion like 2 times in my 2 months of playing. I've driven the Wraith and seen the Wraith about 2 times since I played the game as well. And we still have like major issues that are just not being addressed. And I gave 343 the benefit of the doubt because it was like, okay, they had Thanksgiving, it was hectic, they released the campaign, they were adjusting to all the feedback, but now we are looking at 4 weeks later, and all that we have is some promises about what might come in February, some ideas on what might fix a base game mode in the game. We still have no expectation on when to really expect a roadmap and what that might look like, or really like when the new game mode's coming, what is coming in Season 2. And at this point, I just have to expect that Season 2 is also going to be a massive letdown. It is kind of absurd at this point to think that Season 2 is actually going to save this game, because at this current trajectory, I just feel like there is nothing being done on the game. They released an update for Big Team Battle that failed. They literally even said that it did not have the intended effect. Everyone said that it didn't really work. So it's like these, what have they been doing for this past month? I really would like better, faster communication. And the reason why I would pressure this right now, and the reason why I want this to happen faster, is because, quite frankly, people are losing interest. I think people are losing interest. I'm losing interest in the game. Do I want to play on the same map, on the same mode again for like the 100th time? I don't think a handful of, like these little events. I mean, these events are good ideas, but they got to be better. They got to be juicier, just like Halo 5's updates were. And I don't know what is going on with the development of Halo Infinite, why it takes so long to do the most simplest task. Maybe they're working on some big update right now. Maybe they're working on something that will really blow us away in like April and May, but still, that's like April or May for Season 2, right? That is still such a long time. I worry about the franchise. I worry about the community waiting another 2 or 3 months, which is going to look probably pretty underwhelming. I mean, at this rate, I feel like they're going to add 2 game modes. They might add 1 new map, and then they're going to add a bunch of microtransactions. That's all I really, at this point, expect for Season 2. I imagine at this point, if you disagree with me, you probably already left the video. However, this is another thing I'm going to say. Just brutal reality, brutal honesty, I think, is that these season updates, Season 1, 2, 3, at the very least, and that's just being positive, is that these Season 1 to 3 updates, which we pretty much know is all of 2021, are not really so much as juicy additions to the game, but rather completion updates. That what we have right now is just this long extended beta. There are a lot more issues I haven't talked about, but ultimately these things like Forge and co-op and adding credits, all the things to be expected, all these, well-priced microtransactions in the store, the development of this game for the next year is a completion update, which does have its benefits because we can directly influence how the game is being built, which is why I think this game does have a bright future at the end of the day. However, I just hope it doesn't turn off too many people in the meantime. I think what it's got really going for it is the combat loop, and that's That's pretty much it, honestly. It needs a better engine, it needs better development, it needs better updates, it needs a roadmap, which, by the way, a roadmap, all I really want here is just a little JPEG that says Season 2, April or May, whatever, whenever it releases, and then it's going to come with campaign co-op, 2 new maps, and some microtransactions. That's all I really want. And then Season 3, which has Forge. This is when it's going to come out. This is what it's going to have. But 343 hasn't given us that information, and that just makes me worry. Do they even know when or what these updates are going to have and when? Because so far, the evidence has proven that they don't. Anyways, guys, I'll leave it at that. You let me know what you think about this down in the comment section below. Maybe I was a little bit negative in this video. I tried to pressure that there are good things about the game. I've had fun with it so far, but I just want this game to do well. So I'll catch you guys in the next one soon. Peace.